Hi everyone, this is Louisa, the Eat Right Chef and Integrative Nutrition Health Coach. Today I want to talk about the subject of gluten-free. Gluten-free is a very popular way of eating, and it takes on different forms. For example, in the paleo diet and also low carb diet, people would avoid food that contains gluten as much as possible. But there also seems to be a lot of confusion out there of, what really is good for you or not. And when you take this subject from the perspective of personalized diet based on your blood type, then it becomes clear that not everyone should avoid gluten. Let me tell you why. Well, first of all, there is a confusion between gluten and grains and carbs and wheat. So usually people just lump all those things together, and it just doesn't work this way. When it comes to grains, which is where you will find gluten, almost all grains contain a certain level of gluten. Even those grains that are labeled gluten-free, such as rice, also contains a small amount of gluten. So it's technically not correct to call these grains gluten-free when there is a certain amount of gluten. Oat also contains gluten, for example. But when it comes to grains, you want to look at the individual grains and see which grain actually works for you and your unique blood type, okay? And I just want to give you an example of some grains that actually can be eaten by everyone without much problem. And they include amaranth, quinoa, brown rice, oat, and spelt. Now there is an exception. If you are type O non-secretors, which make up about 20% of the type O population, and I am one of them, then you should avoid oat and spelt. Spelt is an interesting grain because it's an ancient form of wheat, and it contains a lot less gluten, and it's easier to digest, so overall it's healthier than wheat. Now, wheat is a big subject that I'm very passionate about because there are just so many problems related to this grain due to many reasons, hybridization over the years, and even nowadays we're talking about GMO and the use of glyphosate. All these combined have made wheat a highly problematic grain to eat, and you will find wheat in almost every refined and processed food in the supermarket aisles. That's why I highly suggest that you just avoid all processed food, and especially look into the ingredient label for content, the wheat content. When it comes to gluten, yes, wheat has a high level of gluten, but gluten is not the only thing in wheat that causes health problems. There is another component called wheat germ agglutinin, and it is a lectin that will cause a lot of health issues. There is an interesting article about that, and I will include it in the description of this video, so if you are interested, you can check it out. And I mentioned glyphosate, and that is something that is a contentious subject. I just want to throw it out there. Some people say it's not proven, but others have actually observed that happening. So you can do your own research, but what I have learned, and there is actually a documentary on wheat, called What's with Wheat, and I also highly recommend you to take a look at that. It's available on Netflix. This use of glyphosate, which is already deemed a carcinogenic substance in Europe, but not in the United States, it has been said that this is sprayed on the wheat crop here in the United States, and probably responsible for a lot of problems that people have, like leaky gut, which in turn leads to a lot of autoimmune diseases. As part of the cause, not like the entire reason, but partly contributes to that. So in Europe, I have heard people saying that they don't have any problem at all eating the wheat there, because in Europe the regulations are much more stringent than in the United States. And even Americans who have gone to Europe and they eat the wheat there, they eat the bread and pasta, and they say there's no problem. So that's just something that I want to throw out and make you aware of that. So if you don't do well with wheat, you may still be able to eat other types of grains, like the ones I mentioned before, which are good for all blood types. So you can experiment with those. And if you find it difficult to digest grains in general, there are procedures you can do to make it easier to digest, such as soaking the grains overnight. And there are also problems with the so-called gluten-free products in the market that I want to draw your attention to. Even though it may sound healthy, if you look closer at the ingredient list, there are often ingredients such as potato starch, tapioca starch, xanthan gum or other types of gum and binding agents, and cornstarch, and sometimes sunflower oil. Now, all of these ingredients are avoids for some of the blood types for half of the time. So I would say if you just pick any item that's gluten-free, there will be some ingredients there that is not friendly to your particular blood type. So my suggestion is to avoid those ready-made gluten-free products in the market, unless it's really simple ingredients containing one or two types of grains and then some water or salt. If it's simple like that, sometimes I find gluten-free noodles made with brown rice and millet, and that's it. So yes, I will use that. Most of the time though, I prefer to cook grains, whole grains from scratch. Well, I hope this video has cleared up some confusions regarding the gluten-free diet and food items, and free you up to trying some grains that are actually beneficial for you, so you don't have to avoid all gluten products unless you are diagnosed with celiac disease, of course. Okay, I will see you in the next video, and if you like this video and my other videos, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to learn more about the blood type diet and how to cook for your blood type, please subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the description. I'll see you next time. Bye.